Bugün kimse kaybetmemiştir. 85 milyonun tamamı kazanmıştır.
A third term for Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Economic problems at home and balancing East-West relations are just two of the urgent challenges he faces.
After 20 years of power in Turkey, President Erdogan is once again back. In the most recent election that took place late last month, the two main contenders were incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his primary challenger Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Erdogan is a controversial figure. He is the leader of Turkey's Justice and Development Party, or AKP. His party blends social conservatism with a commitment to free market economics, and its principles resonate deeply with the majority of the Turkish population. His opponent, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, on the other hand, represented the Republican People's Party, or CHP. This is a social democratic party that espouses secularism, which is the central tenet of Kemalist ideology, an ideology that has been named after Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the Republic of Turkey. The CHP advocates for parliamentary democracy, social equality, and freedom of expression, and positions itself as a counterweight to the AKP's more conservative and Islamist-leaning approach. In the first round of the election, neither Erdogan nor his opponent were able to secure more than 50% of the votes. Erdogan took 49.5%, while Kılıçdaroğlu secured 44.89%. This led to a runoff in which President Erdogan emerged as the undisputed victor. So who is Erdogan? The controversial figure who's managed to maintain his grip on power in Turkey for 20 years and counting, despite poor economic conditions and a massive earthquake that displaced over 13 million people. And what does Erdogan's re-election mean for Turkey and the West?
How did Turkey get from being a promising democracy to where it is today? And where is it today? Is it still a democracy? And how can Erdogan's role be explained? What kind of man is he, and what will he have in store for Turkey?
Before we proceed, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, could I please request that you do so? We're a team that's working really hard to bring you these videos, and we need to reach 1,000 subscribers so YouTube will allow us to monetize our channel. Your support means everything to us, even if it's free. Without further ado, let's dive in. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is the 12th and current president of Turkey. He's a political figure who's become synonymous with the country's governance over the past 2 decades. Erdogan was born in 1954, and his foray into politics began during his university days.
The young Erdogan was known for his football skills, but he also frequently spoke about the discrimination he faced growing up as a devout Muslim in a secular society.
As a student, he was significantly influenced by the teachings of Turkey's National Salvation Party leader, Necmettin Erbakan, who went on to become Turkey's first Islamist prime minister, and in 1976, Erdogan was elected head of the National Salvation Party's Beyoğlu and Istanbul youth branches. These early experiences helped shape his current political ideology, which, as we've already discussed, blends conservatism with democracy and capitalism. In 1994, Erdogan was elected mayor of Istanbul in his first major political role. During this time, he banned alcohol in city-owned cafes in line with Islamic principles, but he also took initiatives to tackle the city's water shortage, reduce pollution, improve infrastructure, and modernize Istanbul in the process. His tenure, however, was not without controversy. His religious convictions led to charges that he was responsible for inciting religious hatred, and in 1998, he was given a 10-month prison sentence for reciting a nationalist poem called A Soldier's Prayer.
The minarets will be our bayonets, the domes will be our helmets, the mosques will be our barracks, and the believers our soldiers.
While he only served 4 months in prison, this nevertheless marked a turning point in his political career and ended up significantly enhancing his appeal among a large segment of the Turkish population that saw him as a champion of Islamic values in a rigidly secular state. In 2001, Erdogan co-founded the Justice and Development Party, and his party emerged victorious in the 2002 parliamentary elections, making him the Prime Minister of Turkey, a role that he would occupy for over a decade. During Erdogan's term as Prime Minister, Turkey's economy grew significantly. Between 2002 and 2007, the average economic growth rate in Turkey was 7.2%, while in 2010 and 2011, it was 8.8% and 9.2% respectively. Unemployment rates fell as literacy rates rose and the standard of living increased. Erdogan also focused on centralizing power and strengthening Turkey's international position, leveraging its NATO membership and Turkey's strategic location, bridging Europe and the Middle East. In 2014, after reaching his term limits as Prime Minister, Erdogan transitioned to the presidency. This role was traditionally seen as more ceremonial in nature, but he sought to redefine it and transition Turkey from a parliamentary system of governance to a presidential one. He abolished the seat of the Prime Minister altogether and gave the president executive powers that he didn't have before. Many viewed and continue to view this move as highly controversial. Erdogan, however, justified the transition by arguing that the previous system was cumbersome and lacked the speed and flexibility necessary to respond to a rapidly changing domestic and global environment. In 2016, he faced one of the greatest challenges to his leadership when elements within the Turkish military attempted to overthrow his government in a failed coup attempt that caused significant unrest in the country. Despite the severity of the situation, however, Erdogan managed to turn the tables on the coup plotters. He rallied public support and swiftly cracked down on the perpetrators, emerging with an even stronger grip on power than he had before. Erdogan's skill in managing his image has been integral to his success. He consistently presents himself as a defender of the people and their interests, helping him forge a deep connection with his supporters. This has made him one of the most successful leaders in Turkey's democratic history. The 2023 presidential election was one of the most challenging elections of Erdogan's political career. He was under pressure for high inflation and for what some have argued was a very slow response to the devastating earthquake in February. Erdogan was also fighting against a united opposition and won the election in a tight race. His victory, however, indicates that his political strategy and messaging continues to resonate with a substantial portion of the electorate, enabling him to maintain power despite concerted efforts to unseat him. It suggests that despite controversy, many Turks still vehemently support his leadership. Erdogan's victory is significant and obviously has major implications for Turkey, but it also means that Erdogan will continue to be one of the most influential players in both Europe and the Middle East. So let's dig a little deeper into some of his most controversial policies and what they might mean for the future of Turkey. Specifically, let's look into his economic policies that many claim are responsible for the economic mess that Turkey is in today, and the foreign policy that has made Erdogan a prominent figure in global politics. During Erdogan's tenure, the economy saw rapid growth from 2002 to 2017. Poverty fell, and the country edged towards attaining the status of an upper middle-income country. More recently, however, Turkey's economy has been teetering on the brink for a while, and two pressing problems are to blame for this. The first is a persistent fall in the value of the lira amidst impressive growth in Turkey.
The Turkish lira has lost nearly 340% against the US dollar during the 5 years of President Erdogan's last term, and inflation is running at more than 50%.
This has resulted in inflation as imports have become costlier and has caused the trade deficit to widen, which puts further pressure on the lira as foreign currency is needed to purchase foreign goods. The second problem is a phenomenon known as dollarization, where Turks are opting to save in the dollar, euro or gold because they feel that the lira has been losing value too quickly, and this has caused the value of the lira to decline even further. Both problems are agreed upon by economists and the Turkish government, but their proposed solutions diverge.
When an economy's, firing or there's high inflation, one of the tools that central banks can use is to raise interest rates, take some heat off the economy, and to try and get inflation under control, and just cool the economy down. Erdogan has the complete opposite view, and it's labelled by a lot of commentators as unorthodox. Many may have a stronger word than that, in the sense of being just completely ridiculous, because cutting interest rates in the face of inflation is the right way to trigger a currency crisis, and this is pretty much what we're seeing now. So he triggered this sell-off, and what's causing this kind of recent lira devaluation essentially is he's defended his kind of continued rate cuts amidst this double-digit inflation. So inflation in Turkey is nearly 20%.
The conventional solution for a falling currency is raising interest rates, but this has been disregarded by President Erdogan, who has a well-known aversion to high interest rates. Instead, the Turkish government adopted unconventional strategies to curb the lira's fall. The central bank depleted its foreign exchange reserves to support the lira and secured further reserves from former geopolitical allies in exchange for political favors. To combat dollarization, the government launched a liraization strategy, offering Turks special deposit accounts that were to be compensated with extra lira if the lira fell dramatically. But this strategy only offered temporary stability. Over time, the trade deficit has widened and Turkey's economy is in bad shape. the lira's continued slide is undermining Erdogan's strategies, and it's becoming ever riskier for the Gulf states to continue to support a falling lira. Will Erdogan be able to salvage Turkey's economy, or will Turkey end up like Pakistan or Argentina? This remains uncertain, and the country's economic future will certainly be interesting to observe in the months and years to follow. Turkey's foreign policy has also undergone a significant transformation under Erdogan. In the past, Turkey was a relatively passive actor on the international stage, focused on its membership in the EU and its relationship with the US. Under Erdogan, however, Turkey's foreign policy has become more assertive and independent as the country has grown in economic and military power, and it is now reminiscent of the desire to re-establish Turkey as a formidable power, echoing the bygone era of Ottoman dominance. In July 2002, for instance, Turkey mediated an agreement between Russia and Ukraine that would allow for the safe export of Ukrainian grain from free ports in Odessa. This agreement was hailed as a major breakthrough that could help avert a global food crisis. Turkey has also been providing military and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine and has been trying to mediate between the two countries to put an end to the war. Overall, however, three key themes have characterized Erdogan's foreign policy over the last several years. 1. Turkey has sought to increase its military and diplomatic influence in the Middle East. In 2014, the country intervened militarily in Syria to support the rebels fighting against the government of Bashar al-Assad, and in 2020, it intervened in the conflict in Libya to support the Libyan government against the forces of General Khalifa Haftar. 2. Turkey has sought to strengthen its ties with Russia and China in an attempt to diversify its economy, reduce its reliance on the EU, and strengthen its position in the Middle East and the Caucasus. To this end, Turkey has signed several agreements with both countries in a variety of areas, including trade, investment, energy, and defense. In 2014, Turkey and Russia signed a $20 billion agreement to build a natural gas pipeline through Turkey. In 2015, Turkey and China signed a $15 billion agreement to build a high-speed rail line between Istanbul and Ankara. And in 2017, Turkey and Russia signed a $10 billion agreement to build a nuclear power plant in Turkey. Strengthening its once strained relations with Russia has given Turkey more freedom and leverage in its international interactions, including those with the United States. 3. Turkey has sought to distance itself from the West. Turkey was once a close ally of the US, but relations between the two have become more strained in recent years. This is partly due to Turkey's purchase of Russian-made S-400 air defense systems, which the US perceives as a security threat. Turkey's decisions against joining NATO's missile defense system and allowing Sweden's NATO membership have also caused tension. In addition to all of this, Turkey has also sought to extend its influence and trading relationships in other countries and regions. In Africa, Turkey has been active in several countries, including Somalia, Sudan, and Ethiopia, providing humanitarian assistance and investing in their economies, while in Asia, it has tried to increase trade with India and Pakistan, among other countries, and has also sought to cooperate on counter-terrorism and security issues. It is clear that Turkey's foreign policy has become more assertive under Erdogan's leadership and that the country will continue to play an important role in the world. The future of this policy, however, is uncertain, but here are some of the key factors that will likely shape Erdogan's foreign policy going forward. The first is Turkey's economy, which has been struggling in recent years and is likely to put pressure on Erdogan to moderate his foreign policy. A weak economy could make it difficult for Turkey to afford to pursue an assertive foreign policy and could also lead to social unrest, which could further complicate Erdogan's foreign policy agenda. The second is the rapidly changing global landscape. The rise of China and Russia, the decline of the United States, and the ongoing civil war in Syria are all factors that will likely shape Turkey's foreign policy in the years to come. The last factor has to do with Erdogan's personal ambitions and his willingness to take risks in foreign policy. This makes Turkey's overall foreign policy impossible to truly predict. Turkey clearly seems to be standing on a precipice, and it'll be fascinating to see how the bridge between the East and the West will evolve in the months and the years to come. What do you think is next for the country? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video.